NVIDIA just announced their new GPUs, and there's a lot of things they did say, but there's also a lot of things they didn't say. Let's get into it. As some of you may know, last night we were able to be present at the keynote, and they announced their new lineup of GPUs, starting with the 5090, the 5080, the 5070, and the 5070 Ti, all starting to release at the end of this month of January. From what we can tell, this lineup is going to be insane. So let's start off by talking about performance. So the 5070 was one of the biggest heavy hitters for this keynote. Why they announced the 5070, and they didn't show performance, but they said a 5070 RTX, similar performance to a 4090. The crowd went crazy for it. So because we don't have it in hand, we're gonna have to wait till these GPUs finally release so we could actually do some testing in-house to give you the final results. Now for the 5070 Ti, they did show a little bit of the performance, and you can clearly see that with DLSS, the new technology, DLSS 4, it's performing over 4070 Ti by more than double. Now, that is phenomenal, don't get me wrong, DLSS is a really nice technology, but one thing I do like to look at when it comes to the actual benchmarks of these GPUs, I like to look at raw performance before I look at any other features involved. And while you're looking at the graph here, you can see all the nice long green bars, but if you go all the way down to Far Cry, there is no DLSS enabled. It's only ray tracing. You can see the difference there. It's probably right around the 20 to 30% difference in performance. Keep in mind that's still very good performance leap year over year for GPUs. So the 5070 Ti is also gonna be a phenomenal contender in this lineup. Now moving on to the 5080, this is one of the ones that a lot of people have been waiting for. The 5080 is still kind of in that realm of a high-end GPU, still at a really good price. Now, the good thing about the new 5080, as well as you guys can tell, the Founders Edition cards, they're all gonna be pretty small. So they're all pretty much small form factor ready. So right around the performance, the 4080 Super in comparison, again, we're looking at around another 50 to 60% difference, again, while using DLSS 4. And if you look once again all the way back to Far Cry, you'll see it's just ray tracing. So raw performance, again, we're looking at around that 20 to 30% difference. So again, we can't confirm that performance until we start testing them side by side. Now looking at the 5090, the one GPU that pretty much everyone's looking forward to. This thing is a monster. Now, the cool thing, if you're looking at this 5090, the Founders Edition card, if you look at it very closely, which a lot of people did miss out on, you actually see it's a dual slotted card, which is phenomenal for the amount of power these things are pushing. It's crazy. Smaller form factor essentially is gonna be a huge thing moving into 2025. And as you can see on the graph here as well, performance, once again, very similar across the board. You're looking at another double in performance on the 4090 using DLSS 4, and then all the way back on Far Cry 6, once again, no DLSS, ray tracing, so more raw performance, and you can still see a nice uplift of 25 to 30%. Again, I can't give you those exact numbers until we get these GPUs in-house so we can test them side by side. So we've been talking a lot about DLSS on and off. So let's talk about that difference. So AI was a big part of this keynote, but it's not the AI you're thinking of. We're talking about DLSS 4. So for every frame generated, it was generating an additional 3 frames on top of that. They showed us a nice sequence of it running in real time with DLSS 4, and it looked phenomenal. And the performance was pretty crazy. If you don't believe me, just take a look at this quick footage. All of this is possible because of the new AI architecture that's built into these Blackwell GPUs. All of this at a surprisingly new price point. As you can see on the screen, the 5070 coming in at $550 is a phenomenal price point. For additional $200, you can get the 5070 Ti at $750 and the 5080 right around the $999 price point. Now going on to the big boy, the 5090, you're looking at $1999.99. So that is gonna be the top of line GPU for this lineup. Now keep in mind, those prices are at MSRP, so those are for the Founders Edition from NVIDIA. Partners like Asus, MSI, Gigabyte will have their own variances that you can see probably upwards an additional $300 to $400 over the MSRP price from NVIDIA. And with these GPUs, I'm honestly really excited for the next few years of gaming.